Okay, everyone, hello, welcome to a first impressions review type thing for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I came very close to not even making this video for a couple reasons. First of all, I don't technically own this game yet. Well, I kind of do. I purchased a GTX 960 for a friend, and Ashton, as a matter of fact, of this channel, and the email containing this code has not been sent yet. So I have, in the meantime, torrented this game so I can get some footage for you guys. It should come soon, though, so I'm not too bad of a dirty pirate. But right now, I don't legally own this copy of the game. So there was one reason I was tempted not to make this. But the second reason, more importantly to me, is that before this game, I'm pretty much completely unfamiliar with the Witcher franchise. I know the plot of 2 just by reading some of the wiki stuff and basically through osmosis, through game culture. I'm pretty familiar with Geralt's character and all that, but for the most part, The Witcher is a pretty unfamiliar subject for me. What I can say, just in my brief experience with this game so far, is that tends to not matter a whole lot. There's some subtleties I'm sure I'm missing with some of the game's relationships and stuff, or the game characters' relationships, but so far it's not treating newcomers too badly. I think you can jump into this game and be completely fine. At least I am so far. Before I get into the meat of this game, I think it is worth mentioning that right now, up until I think June 1st, this game does come free with GTX 960s, 970s, and 980s. And for the 970s, 980s, Batman Arkham Knight also comes free with it. So if you're looking to upgrade it in an NVIDIA card, you're in luck, because you'll probably get this for free. Also, GTX Titan owners, you should get this for free even if you bought it release day. So that's cool. So for this game so far, I pretty much went in it blind. I'd seen the E3 footage, I'd seen the trailer footage, and I really didn't know 100% what to expect. But so far, I honestly like it more than I want to. I have a lot of games to catch up on already. A lot that I've been trying to, cram since it's kind of more free during the summertime. But I'm probably going to have to add this one to my schedule, even though this was a game I wasn't even going to initially play. As a matter of fact, I was just playing it to get, a few hours to get some first impressions footage. I was going to do this with Ashton, but that didn't work out. But it didn't really end up matter because I really like this game, and I'm probably going to buy my own copy when we get his stuff settled out. The world, to me, so far, the atmosphere, and this is coming from someone who's completely, like I said, I'm not familiar with The Witcher, so this is kind of either a good social experiment for those who have already played The Witcher, or if you have a similar point of view of mine, maybe this will help you out as well. To me, this world in The Witcher, the atmosphere is not as stupidly vague as something like Dark Souls, where they purposefully hide everything from you as far as lore and story goes and make you dig for it and infer everything, but it's not handed to you on a fucking silver platter like Elder Scrolls is, where they walk you literally through everything, more or less. So the world is very inviting, it's very welcoming, but it's very subtle, and it has a lot of mojo to it, and I'm really enjoying exploring it and finding little bits of lore as I go around. And like I said, I'm sure if you've played the past games, there's a lot more you'll know about it just from that. But it's been a good balance between satisfying my curiosity and not dumping overloads of information onto you. So I like it. The world feels very alive. It feels wild. Well, it's in the title, so it probably should. And untamed. Just it feels like a living, breathing environment, which is something really critical for open world games that don't happen a lot anymore, unfortunately. A lot of them just feel very open and barren. So that's something I think CD Projekt Red really nailed. With you be walking around, you can see wildlife running around, deer and stuff, and then the occasional enemies you run across. So very good. I'm very much liking the world layout. There has been some great voice acting and facial animations from what I've came across so far. The characters really feel like humans, more so than I've seen in most recent titles. I feel like we've kind of hit a plateau since maybe 2010-ish for NPCs and game characters in general. Just their faces looking very robotic and very static, and their mouths moving too much, or their eyes not moving enough. I think that like you could watch some of the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare cutscenes with Kevin Spacey in it and see exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it looks convincing, but there's just something off about it. And since this game is, you know, not trying to replicate reality and does have an art style to it, I think it does a much better job at making it convincing. The mouth movements for all the NPCs have been very convincing. The facial structures, movements have been pretty realistic, and they have really good voice acting behind every one of them. I've not heard two NPCs have the same voice. As a matter of fact, I've recognized a couple of the actors and actresses from other games, but that you play enough games, you know that'll happen. So, but I've been very impressed with that aspect, both audio and visually. I guess to the meat of the game, you know, this is at its core kind of a fighting game. I wouldn't call it beat 'em up, but you know, kind of hack and slash, a little bit of magic thrown in there. But the combat is very tactical. I would almost compare it. I'm not almost comparing it. I am going to compare it to Shadow of Mordor. That was a title I played last year. Enjoyed the shit out of it, but everyone, including myself, criticized that that game is way too damn easy. I mean, you can watch me here. I'm just slicing heads off, just tapping X every now and then, tap Y every now and then, you do the X and Y combo, cut some more heads off, you know. So, you know, by the time you're halfway through the game, you're an unstoppable beast. This does not seem to be the case in The Witcher 3. It's, I think coming from playing that game and playing the Batman Arkham series and then being used to how Dark Souls work, it's different, and it's something I had to get used to when I was getting my ass kicked by wild dogs and wolves and ghouls. So if you're not familiar with the Witcher combat system, it's going to take a little bit to get used to, but it's very smooth, it's very free-flowing feeling, but it feels like you're not having your hand held, if that makes sense. It feels like you're actually having to put in the effort. And you know, your weapons you can upgrade, and you can buy better weapons and that sort of thing, which you couldn't do in Shadow of Mordor. So that's a whole nother element that adds to it that I wasn't, you know, I had never experienced in that kind of game before. This game also has like character abilities. There's crafting. You can make potions through alchemy. Lots of inventory management, and like I said before, weapon improvement. There's crafting weapons through blacksmiths. You can even do temporary boosts to your weapons and armor at special like grindstones and workstations, which is a pretty cool thing. You know, you'll get like 15 minutes of increased damage or increased defense, which is pretty damn useful if you know you're going to be doing a harder contract or something of that sort. So that was a nice surprise to me. You know, that's just a snippet of what the gameplay has to offer. That's what I ran into in the first hour. Obviously, none of that is very detailed. All you need to know is that so far it's all meshed really well, and even though there's a lot to it, it's not. I don't know. For some reason it seems like it fits well, and it doesn't seem like it's too overbearing for a new player. A lot of the times you get into those kind of games that have these kind of systems, you're just like, what the hell am I doing? I wouldn't say it's as user-friendly as something like Skyrim, where it's just like, okay, go to this station, you can do this thing, make this product, now use said product. But, you know, where I'm unfamiliar with this franchise, I'm sure I'll get used to it in, you know, a couple of hours. So it's the overall system, the UI, heads-up display, everything's very streamlined, and from what I've seen of Witcher 2, looks like a huge improvement. So don't worry about it being too clunky. The only downside I can say, both UI and control scheme and everything, this game was designed with a gamepad in mind. For me, that's not a big deal. I usually always play third-person action games, even on PC with gamepads. But if you're a die-hard keyboard and mouse user, even if it's, you know, for me, I usually just use them in first-person shooters or something along those lines that really need them, then you're probably out of luck. This game does work with keyboard and mouse, but to me, it's not. I can't bear it. I'm sure there'll probably be some more optimizations down the road for keyboard and mouse, but to me it's not instantaneous, and the camera movement feels weird, and I just don't like it. So I recommend playing this on a gamepad, but the UI and everything is very well laid out for it. So so there you go, console players, you got this one in the bag. I guess really the only other thing to talk about in this game is, if at least from a, you know, I could go in and analyze every bit of this, but this is just a, you know, my layman's view of it in the first couple of hours from someone who doesn't know jack shit about The Witcher, is graphics. Now, this has become kind of a sore spot for a lot of people. If any of you remember E3 from, I believe it was 2013, they showed, I guess it was pre-alpha footage of this game, and holy shit, did it just kill. It was, my jaw hit the floor when I saw it. I'm not going to include it here because, number one, I don't want copyright claims, but number two, if you care about the subject, I'm sure you've already Googled it, but you could open up a window right next to my video and see what I'm talking about. It had a very dark Game of Thrones look to it, and it was just incredible looking. Then 2014 rolls around and a new trailer comes out. Well, graphics don't look the same, but they still look great. They're very bright, very high contrast, but it's still beautiful. Skies were just photorealistic, draw distances look amazing. Everything just looked perfectly polished and looked like it wasn't built on just, you know, a copy and paste of the Witcher 2 engine, which pretty much what the E3 build was, and just pretty much prettied up. So everyone was expecting to go in with something like that, and they're like, oh man, you know, this looks fantastic. Then they show off what was to be pretty much the final build of this game, and it looked a little bit worse than what is released, but not by much. And everyone, including myself, was like, what the fuck happened? To me, the lighting wasn't such a big deal. I mean, it looked way better to me in the 2014 trailer. But the thing that stuck out to me the most, and still sticks out to me playing the game, is the foliage just looks like garbage to me for the most part. If you go up to grass or trees, it literally looks like someone took a photograph of a plant and went to Photoshop and cropped it out and stuck it in a sprite and said, there we go, there's our grass. It's very strange, considering that even Dark Souls 2 and Elder Scrolls 5 and even Elder Scrolls Online, and it's an MMO, tend to have better looking foliage to me, and I'm talking unmodded. You turn up the density a lot, you can mess with the sharpening filters, you can do a few things in the INI file, and it does make it look better. And a matter of fact, I'm running this game with sweet effects on. You could probably tell when I switched to it. I just wanted to get the game up and running before I did, just to play with the contrast and stuff. But even then, it just looks weird. I'm just not happy with it, and especially when you get up close, you can just see what kind of limitations the foliage provided. I don't know if this was a consequence of the consoles, but I know overall that the downgrade was pretty much because the current gen consoles couldn't handle the game at 1080 30 frames per second with that build. And you know, everyone would be quick to jump to the gun to say, oh my god, consoles are holding us back, blah, blah, blah. And to some extent, I definitely agree. Those consoles, which I do own, so don't call me a fanboy in the comments. I mean, I don't care if you do, you're going to get removed. But I'm just talking facts here. They were underpowered the day they were released. So, you know, that is kind of a fair assessment, but I don't know that even a really high-end rig could have ran something like that at reasonable settings, because my GTX 970 is having some trouble keeping up 60 frames per second in a mixture of medium to high settings with like most of the post-processing turned off. So I mean, you could call unoptimization on this game if you want, but to me it's just so large, such a large scale, and trying to do this high fidelity graphics, it's just taxing. So I understand why they had to change the build around. I wish the foliage looked better. I'm sure once they release, like their own dev kit for it, people will, try to deal with that. And, you can do your own tweaks right now to make it look a little bit better. But the bottom line is this release does not look nearly as good as what they showed off in previous builds. It's not nearly as bad as a case as it was for like Watch Dogs. That was terrible, and that had the code still locked in the game files, and people could just unlock it. It's not quite that bad, but it was definitely kind of a shocker to see what it turned out to be when they showed. To me, that's false advertising. Don't release something and then say, I know they have a disclaimer saying, okay, this isn't our final product, but don't put something out that looks like night and day different, and then say, what really pissed me off, and a lot of other people too, was they were like, oh, there's no downgrade. What are you talking about? So, just to prove that, CD Projekt Red has spearheaded a lot of good things in the past, but, they're a corporation, they're a company, just like Valve, just like EA, just like Activision, they're just trying to make their money as well. So, I praise them for the good things they did, but don't ever forget, they have their own bullshit too. Another mark against this game I will say graphically, is I did say it doesn't run as well as it probably should for how it looks, but I'll let it slide considering this is an open world game. But what really sucks is that if you do not own a Maxwell GPU, a Maxwell NVIDIA GPU like I do, like I have a GTX 970, anything in the 900 series or a Titan X is, Maxwell architecture, if you don't own one of those cards, you're probably getting screwed in performance-wise. Of course, I'm just talking to the PC players here. Because there has been a myriad of benchmarks that come out that have shown that a GTX 960 with 2 gigs of RAM, VRAM that is, which is a $200 card, and only a 128-bit bus, I want to say, is beating out a GTX 780 Ti, a 3 gig VRAM card with like 3 times the bus, I want to say, and way more CUDA cores. Everything beats it except for the core clock speed, and you can obviously overclock it and beat it. So basically, Kepler cards are older in the NVIDIA series are being screwed by drivers on this game. I can understand they're trying to optimize it for their newest cards, but come on, for a card that's barely over a year old, it shouldn't be that bad. I mean, and we're talking cards that are 2 to 5 times as powerful as current gen consoles, running worse at some points than these consoles. So they need to get their optimization up, and probably even worse for AMD users. I'm green team when it comes to graphics cards, just because I like the stuff they do with the drivers, and I like shadow play and some of the other things, and low TDP is a big deal to me. But I'm all for equality across AMD. I wish NVIDIA would pull their head out of their ass and just cooperate a little more, and not quit being such corporate assholes when it comes to that sort of thing. So if you have anything but a 900 series graphics card, I would look into how your benchmarks would perform on a similar system to yours before buying this game, because even on a 970, this fucking game's hard to run at high settings, and like I said, I don't call on optimization. I just think it's that hard of a game to run. Fortunately, as hardware scales and gets better in the next couple of years, this thing will be as easy to max out as it is for Witcher 2, without Uber sampling, that is. With that said, when I say it's hard to run on high settings, I mean for 60 frames per second. This game is pretty playable at 30 frames per second. I thought, what the hell, I can pull pretty consistently near 30 with Ultra, so at a couple times I dialed it back to 30 frames per second, put it in the frame cap, and played with my Xbox One controller, and although it wasn't as smooth, it wasn't as pleasing to the eye as 60 frames per second, it works a lot better than most games. I can really tell that CD Projekt Red really anticipated people playing this at 30 frames per second, because I would say the majority of people who own this game will have it on console, and they're locked to that. So, I usually wouldn't recommend a game as much on console, but honestly, the PS4 and Xbox One just don't look that different to, you know, higher end PC settings, which is ridiculous and shows you how much they gimped the PC version. But I mean, at this point, if you're going to be locked at 30 on either system, I would say it doesn't really matter. The Xbox One runs on a dynamic 900p to 1080p resolution. If you're playing up close on a monitor, I can tell. If you're sitting really far back and playing it on a TV, I really couldn't tell that small of a difference in resolution. And the Xbox One does hold the frame rate a bit better and doesn't have as much texture pop in. Besides that, the console versions are pretty much equivalent. So usually I wouldn't do this, but I would say you're pretty safe playing this game on either PS4, Xbox One, or PC. Matter of fact, I would say if you have anything less than like a 780 or maybe 770 and you have a PS4 or Xbox One, I would almost say just get this fucking game on console, because that's obviously what the devs spent most time on, which is a sad state of affairs, but it's the way it is. So overall, I really, really enjoy this game more than I wanted to, like I said, because now I'm going to have to buy the son of a bitch and finish it. I'm probably going to have to make myself at least go back and become more familiarized with the Witcher lore. But as someone who's never, you know, played the shit and only kind of absorbed what I know from just being in the gaming community, I really like what CD Projekt Red has going on here. Great world, really interesting characters, a lot of quality in voice acting, combat, every little thing. I've been impressed with it. So I really don't have any. There's really nothing I could say that would make me say I don't recommend this game to someone. And because of the way they approach this game, with optimization or lack thereof on some PC components and how it runs on consoles, I would say just whatever you own, buy it for it, and I don't think you'll be too disappointed. Supposedly there's going to be more patches coming to the consoles that will improve frame rate stability and some of the other performance things they got going on, so that'll be good. The only kind of stall I would have is for PC gamers with anything less than a GTX 960 or maybe even an R9 290 if you're Red Team. I just don't think it's going to perform as well as you think it should. At least it's not as good as I think it should, especially compared to some of these other really graphically intense games like Shadow of Mordor. I can pretty much max out 60 frames per second, no problem, and some ways it looks better to me, some ways it's not. But still, you would think if you could max that game out, you'd be able to do at least high on The Witcher, and it's just not the case. So if you're willing to settle for a little bit lesser settings, spending some time tweaking some files, go for it. But you're not going to have as much optimization in the drivers yet, so just be patient. If I had to recommend one console over the other, my personal feeling is I prefer frame rate over resolution. I'd rather have a solid 30 frames per second than sacrifice it for down to the low 20s for full 1080p if you're playing on a TV especially. So me, I would buy the Xbox One version. PS4 version's fine though. You just prepare for some low frames, and supposedly that's going to be fixed here soon anyway. So, but that's pretty much it. If you have any vague interest in this game and you got $60 to spare, go pick the son of a bitch up, because you will be entertained for a while. There's a lot to do. There's a whole world that I don't even know what exists in it, and this is coming from someone who don't know jack shit about shit. So I've had a lot of fun with it. I think you will too, and that's really all there is to it. So if you had any intelligent insights or a different opinion, and you're not going to be YouTube trash, feel free to leave a comment. Otherwise, if you are going to be ignorant, I'm just going to remove your comment anyway. So I've spent way too much of my time replying to stupid people in past videos, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. But if you would like to, if you have questions regarding my lack of knowledge about this game, or PC system specs or something like that, feel free to leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But if you like the video, you know all that YouTube drill bullshit. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I can get Ashton's ass out here and maybe we'll have a Witcher playthrough for you going up. And be sure to check out some of the other reviews I've done with Elder Scrolls Online, Tamriel Unlimited, and Dark Souls 2: Scholar of the First Sin. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.